The antique shop smelled of dust and secrets. Shadows clung to corners, hiding secrets best left undisturbed. A chill snaked down my spine as I stepped inside, drawn by a porcelain doll displayed in the dusty window. Its eyes, two pools of faded blue, seemed to follow me. I should have left, should have walked away, but something drew me in, a morbid curiosity I couldn't resist. The shopkeeper, a wizened old man with eyes like polished stones, watched me with unsettling intensity. His smile didn't reach his eyes, a fact that set me on edge. "Beautiful, isn't she?" he rasped, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "A rare find." I nodded, unable to speak, my gaze locked on the doll's unsettlingly lifelike face. It was then I noticed the inscription etched on its porcelain foot. "For Emily," it read, the letters spidery and faint. The old man saw me studying the inscription. "A gift," he croaked, "from a father to his daughter many years ago." His voice dropped to a whisper that sent chills crawling up my arms. A tragedy, that. The little girl, she passed away. Some say her spirit never left the doll. He chuckled, a dry, brittle sound that sent a shiver down my spine. I felt a strange compulsion to own the doll, to take it home with me. It was foolish, I knew, but the feeling was overwhelming. I paid the old man, his smile widening as he pocketed the money. As I left the shop, clutching the doll tightly in my arms, I could have sworn I heard a soft, childlike whisper coming from the depths of the shop. "Thank you," it seemed to say, the voice filled with an unnerving mix of gratitude and something else, something cold and dark. I hurried home, my heart pounding in my chest, the doll's cold porcelain pressing against my skin. It felt wrong, all of it, but it was too late to turn back. The attic was dark, filled with the musty scent of forgotten things. Shadows danced in the flickering beam of my flashlight, taking on sinister shapes that set my teeth on edge. I hadn't been up here in years, not since I was a child. But the whispers had started again, faint at first, then growing louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from the old dollhouse tucked away in the farthest corner of the attic, shrouded in dust and cobwebs. The dollhouse was a replica of our old Victorian home, every detail painstakingly recreated. My grandfather had made it for my grandmother, a labour of love he had poured his heart and soul into. It had been my grandmother's prized possession, and after she died, it had been relegated to the attic, deemed too precious to throw away, yet too painful to keep on display. I knelt before the dollhouse, its tiny windows staring back at me like vacant eyes. The whispers seemed louder now, closer, filled with an urgency that sent chills down my spine. I reached out, my fingers tracing the dusty roof of the miniature house. As I did so, I felt a sharp jolt, like static electricity, shooting up my arm. The dollhouse, once dark and silent, sprang to life. Lights flickered on inside the tiny rooms, casting an eerie glow that illuminated the dust motes dancing in the air. I watched, transfixed, as miniature figures began to move inside the dollhouse, their movements jerky and unnatural. A family, frozen in time, reenacting some long-forgotten scene. The figures, a man, a woman and a small child, were gathered in the miniature living room. The man was yelling, his face contorted in rage, while the woman cowered on the floor, shielding the child behind her. The scene was so real, so visceral, that I could practically hear the man's angry shouts, the woman's terrified sobs. Then, in a horrifying blink, the scene shifted. The miniature man stood over the woman, his hand raised, a glint of metal flashing in the dim light. I gasped, my blood turning to ice. The scene was too real, too familiar. It was the night my father snapped, the night he... No, I couldn't think about that. Not now, not ever.